virus cases. Remember, the pandemic, a huge reason why we're seeing so many mail-in ballots this election. We're going to have those details. But up next, Pennsylvania, one of two states where President Trump has fought, one of multiple states, actually, where the president's been filing lawsuits to try to stop the vote count and take other measures. We're going to talk to PA's Attorney General live.
Bask in the warm glow of winter lights with Cadillac during the season's best sales event and shine your brightest with the fresh new lineup of Cadillac vehicles. So shop now and light up your nights with the luxury of Cadillac.
Get 0% APR for 72 months plus $500 purchase allowance on a 2021 Cadillac XT4, XT5, and XT6.
Oh, you need. Ugh.
The all-new Sandals Montego Bay, Jamaica's newest and hottest resort. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Tired of overpaying for your prescriptions? Try Optum Perks. It's a new way to save up to 80%. And everyone can do it.
It's from Optum, a healthcare company that's trusted by millions of people.
You don't have to sign up for anything. Just go to OptumPerks.com.
And get a coupon to use at your pharmacy. That's it.
I opted in.
I opted in.
You can too. Opt in and save big today.
This is Kate. She always wanted her smile to shine. Now she uses a capful of TheraBreath Healthy Smile Oral Rinse to give her the healthy, sparkly smile she always wanted. TheraBreath. It's a better mouthwash at Walmart, Target, and other fine stores.
Frustrated that clothes come out of the dryer wrinkled? Next time, try Bounce Wrinkle Guard Dryer Sheets. The world's first mega sheet with 3 times more wrinkle relaxers. Look at the difference of these two shirts. The Wrinkle Guard shirt has less wrinkles and static and more softness and freshness. To tame wrinkles on the go, use Bounce 3-in-1 Rapid Touch-Up Spray. Bounce out wrinkles with Bounce Wrinkle Guard Dryer Sheets and Touch-Up Spray, both with a money-back guarantee.
Time for new reading glasses? Go to readers.com. Choose from hundreds of styles and colors for under $20. And now, enter this exclusive TV coupon code at checkout to save up to 40%. That's readers.com.
With PlushCare, finding the time to take care of yourself is possible even when anxious or depressed. Introducing the new doctor's appointment online with top doctors for primary care and mental health. Plus, we take most major insurances. Download the PlushCare app today.
Hey, old girl. Oh, it's okay.
The Bissell ProHeat 2X Revolution Pet Pro removes stains, odors, and allergens, and also uses a formula that eliminates more than 90% of odor-causing bacteria. You can use it on even the toughest set of messes. And because it goes everywhere they go, it's our best deep cleaning system for pet messes.
All better.
Whatever stage of pet parenthood you're in, Bissell helps you live in the moment, not the mess.
Hi, I'm Hanno. I created Gabi because most people overpay on car insurance. Gabi is a free tool that saves you money by finding the best deal. Gabi users save more than $800 per year on average. Go to Gabi.com and stop overpaying for car insurance.
I love that I finally found a brand I can belong to.
I love the quality of your product.
I love your size range.
I love your real, diverse models.
I love getting dressed now.
At Universal Standard, we love how our clothing makes our customers feel.
Watch what they do, not what they say.
So this is the scene, check it out, coming out of Philadelphia, where the Trump campaign has just announced they are about to hold another press conference, I believe at that podium. One campaign advisor is teasing what they're calling a legal victory in Philadelphia. We know the campaign has filed suits in PA, in Michigan to stop vote counting. It's part of a much bigger swing state legal blitz. They're also challenging the handling of mail ballots in Georgia, demanding a recount in Wisconsin, or at least threatening to file for a recount. Now you can add Nevada to the list. The Trump campaign is expected to announce plans to file an election-related lawsuit in that state at a press conference we've been talking about later this morning, according to a couple of sources familiar with that decision. Let me bring in now Pennsylvania's Attorney General Josh Shapiro, who is with us from Pennsylvania. Attorney General Shapiro, thanks for being with us this morning.
Good to be with you.
Wondering if you have any insight into what this legal victory the Trump campaign is talking about in Philly might be. Pam Bondi, who has been doing some advisory work for the campaign, was out on another network just a couple of minutes ago talking about the potential for allowing some of their folks to be watching the votes being counted.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what you know and your reaction to it?
Well, it's a little hard to follow their legal strategy. I mean, they have these press conferences or whatever you want to call it. They make a lot of noise. And then ultimately, sometimes things are filed, sometimes they aren't. Let me kind of maybe set the legal stage for you here, because I think, you know, they've sort of purposefully, in my opinion, kind of misled the public in terms of what is really going on. First and foremost, what's happening here in Pennsylvania is a count of all legal ballots. That's exactly what needs to happen. These are people that voted by mail, whether because of coronavirus or whatever reason, over the course of the last several weeks. Those ballots are going to be counted, period. They have, on the legal front, sought to intervene in a case in the U.S. Supreme Court, where twice before SCOTUS has refused to take it up, questioning whether or not ballots that are postmarked by Election Day and received up until Friday, tomorrow at 5 p.m., can be counted. Again, twice that went to SCOTUS, twice they refused to weigh in on it. Second, there was a case where they had lost at a lower court level in Philadelphia, took it up to Commonwealth Court, which is like our appellate court, to have people be able to watch the proceedings. That may be what Pam Bondi is talking about. And then third, they filed some other case, kind of in a technical case that really is a suit like many others that have been dismissed and thrown out across the country that's super narrow. I'm not even sure it applies to anybody here in Pennsylvania. But that's what this is all about. They're not going to stop the count. The count will go forward. All legal votes will be tallied. And we will respect the will of the people here in Pennsylvania and certify a winner based on who the people of Pennsylvania chose.
That sounds, frankly, very definitive. It sounds like you are definitively saying that these lawsuits are not going to pause. They're not going to stop Pennsylvania's count from being finished, which could be maybe as early as today. That's a fair assessment of your remarks here?
Well, here's my assessment. They went to court multiple times in the run-up to the election to try and change the rules. Every single time they went to court, we won, they lost, and we protected the rights of Pennsylvanians to vote. If they want to go to court again and try us again, we're prepared to meet them there and win again, this time to make sure that these votes are counted. I've said all along for months, we're going to secure, protect, and count every legal vote. And right now, we're in the phase of counting those. And these the rights of Pennsylvanians to vote. If they want to go to court again and try us again, we're prepared to meet them there and win again, this time to make sure that these votes are counted. I've said all along for months, we're going to secure, protect, and count every legal vote. And right now, we're in the phase of counting those. And these
And for
the rights of Pennsylvanians to vote. If they want to go to court again and try us again, we're prepared to meet them there and win again, this time to make sure that these votes are counted. I've said all along for months, we're going to secure, protect, and count every legal vote. And right now, we're in the phase of counting those. And these a live stream of what goes on there. So we're going to continue this count. There'll be transparency in the process. And I would just say at this point, the rhetoric needs to go away. The campaign is over. We just need to focus on counting these ballots.
Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro talking about counting the ballots, process that is happening as we speak in Pennsylvania. Attorney General Shapiro, thank you for being back on the show. So we are waiting on an update now from Georgia, another very important state, still considered by NBC News too close to call. The update is coming probably in the next couple of minutes. That's what you're looking at on the left side of your screen. It is the tightest margin in the remaining states yet to be called by NBC News, just some 18,000 votes separating President Trump and Joe Biden. We'll have that in a minute. Also in the South, North Carolina, also too close to call. The margin there currently about 77,000 votes. Sources inside the Trump campaign are saying they feel confident about keeping that lead as the absentee ballots continue to come in. But I want to bring in NBC's Morgan Radford from Charlotte. So, Morgan, you got the presidential race there. The Senate race is also too close to call. We mentioned those outstanding absentee ballots. You've also got, in addition to provisional ballots that need to be counted. When are we expecting to know more from North Carolina? It sounds like we may have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, Hallie, the short answer is we may have to wait until next Thursday on November 12th, because here's the state of play in North Carolina right now. Number one, you've got the president leading by about 76,000 votes here across the state. But number two, this all comes down to those 116,000 mail-in ballots that the state said was requested but haven't yet been returned. And that is what everyone here is waiting on. But just this morning, Hallie, we spoke to political experts here on the ground, and they had some interesting things to say. They said they actually do not think that 116,000 ballots will come back. They said they actually only expect to see about 30,000 ballots. And most importantly, Hallie, they said they don't actually think those ballots will make a difference in those big federal races. Not for the presidential race and not for that crucial Senate race that the Democrats were hoping to flip the state and turn blue, a Senate race that has now become the most expensive in U.S. history. But they also said something else, Hallie. They said, you know, the narrative going into the election, the narrative we saw even on Election Day, was that this state was going to come down to those suburban voters. And the political expert said we actually didn't see quite the swing in those suburban voters that they expected to see. So when it came down to federal races, those suburban voters were typically voting the same. But then you saw this kind of swing voting behavior when it came to the federal races and the governor's races. And they saw that Biden took a lead, but not quite by the margins that they expected. So while we're waiting for those final ballots to come in, we may not know until Thursday, November 12th. And that's the date that was set forth and upheld by the Supreme Court. That's the date that county boards of elections all across the state will have to count those mail-in ballots that were postmarked. And then the state says, once they count on Thursday, we should have those updated totals. Hallie?
Morgan Radford live for us there from North Carolina with that update. Morgan, thank you. We want to take you back to Georgia and a live look now at the state capitol. That is where the Secretary of State is getting ready to update reporters in just a couple of minutes, actually any minute, on the vote count there. You are watching our special post-election day coverage right here on MSNBC. We'll be back with that live shot after the break.
Alert a lead, that person then comes over, sorts it out. It can go off to adjudication if necessary. Adjudication is simply determining the intent of the voter. What did this person mean to do? They were supposed to fill in a bubble. Maybe they put an X through the bubble or circled the name. That happens in another space. But after these ballots are sorted, they go over toward the window, if we can show that, Stu. Those are the scanners. There are 5 scanners in this room. They're scanned into the machine, all saved onto a flash card. Those flash cards are then transported over to another facility away from State Farm Arena where we are, and that's where they are tabulated. The expectation is that they'll all be sent over by 11, and we'll finally get those last numbers from Fulton County. As what it feels like in the room, it's hectic, as you'd expect.
Yeah.
What you can't see are the 15 to 20 cameras on the other side of where your vantage point. But there's media here, of course, the scores of people who are working to finish the absentee ballot count.
All right, and as Victor speaks in a few moments, we expect a live press conference from the Georgia Secretary of State. So stand by for that, because there could be some very significant updates. I want to go now to Arizona, though. Tensions running especially high over the counting. I mean, Kyung-La, you were there last night. We all saw, right, when you were at the counting center. So where are we this morning? When are we going to get more information? Because where you are, there are hundreds of thousands of ballots. We still don't know who they're for.
Yeah, let's start with the counting process, Aaron, because that's really what's important here. Here in Maricopa County, which includes Phoenix, the very populated Phoenix, Maricopa is the largest county as far as population here in Arizona. So you got to win here if you want to win this state. For the Secretary of State's office says approximately 300,000 ballots have yet to be counted here, and they're going through the counting process. That is still continuing here in Maricopa County. As far as the entire state, we're at about 450,000 ballots that have still being counted right now, according to the Secretary of State's office. So that is still ongoing. We are anticipating that we'll have more results, the next batch of ballot results here from Maricopa County sometime around 9 p.m. Eastern time. It's not a hard deadline, but that's approximately the time that we're anticipating that the elections department here is going to have a new update. And then I want to turn to what you were just talking about, Aaron. You're talking about the protests that we saw here. We were inside. The entranceway is just over my shoulder. I'm in the parking lot this morning. We were inside the lobby, and then we could hear a growing crowd outside. The security concern grew. The sheriff's department arrived here because they were chanting, among other things like Pizzagate, they were saying, "Let us in, let us in." And so even though these were peaceful protesters, it was peaceful assembly, these were people who were carrying guns. And so the sheriff's department did deploy, and they wanted to make sure that the doors weren't breached. There's an impact here, not on the vote. Let's be very clear, not on the ballot counting, but out here in the parking lot, you can see these sort of, red markers. On each of those markers, there's a small white sign that says the Freedom of Speech Zone. This entire section to the left of these red markers, this is where they would like the people to peacefully assemble. And then over to the right where cars are being driving in and out. The impact on this is that the people who are doing the ballot counting here, these are temporary workers. A good majority of them are retirees. They are older. They're temporary workers, and they're paid minimum wage. So they're being ferried in from different parts where their personal cars may be here, so they don't have to walk in the Phoenix heat to continue the work of democracy. I spoke to one of the staffers here about if this has impacted attendance or if there's been any sort of concern or sick out. They haven't seen it.
Wow.
Aaron?
Well, that's impressive. And of course, though, the guidance we're getting from Kyung here is that we're not going to really know the fate of Arizona today. So Nevada, Pennsylvania, Georgia, these are the crucial states we're going to know very much sooner, perhaps in the next hours or so, Anderson.
It's fascinating. And again, numbers in Nevada really, we have not seen a change in the numbers in Nevada since yesterday. So hopefully get some new numbers. Some new numbers soon. Talking about Georgia, we are waiting just moments from now, I think about 2 minutes or so from now. The Secretary of State in Georgia is going to give a press conference about how many outstanding votes there still are there. We're waiting for that. We're going to bring that to you live. I want to go to David Chalian. David, let's talk about Georgia and what a fascinating race we have seen over the last 2 days in Georgia.
It certainly has been. This is one of those sort of Sunbelt expansion states, as the way the Biden campaign referred to it. Has been a long part of sort of the Democratic Party's project to play into where they're seeing demographic changes and lean into the suburban revolt against Donald Trump. They saw that as a laboratory for it this cycle. But it is razor thin, Anderson. And I was just listening earlier to the reporting. I think that they think there's some 67,000 outstanding votes. We'll see what the Secretary of State says now when we get...
it was plus 61,000.
Oh, 61,000, this initial update. So I think, I was doing quick calculations, I think it means Joe Biden would need roughly around the 70% range or somewhere in that of the remaining outstanding ballots to overtake the president's current lead. But you've seen the president's lead in the state just shrinking. And we know that the late ballots being counted, the mail ballots that are getting tabulated, are just overwhelmingly a pro-Biden group of voters. And so that is helping to increase that margin. Now you see it there at just 18,586 vote lead for the president in Georgia. And just remember, Anderson, the president made a final campaign stop in the final 48 hours in Georgia. And it was stunning to sort of see it when they put it on their schedule that a Republican incumbent president would spend time in the final 48 hours in Georgia. They were keenly aware of how close Georgia could be. And it's also why the Biden campaign sent Barack Obama there in the final day of campaigning.
Obviously, so much depends on exactly where those plus 61,367 ballots that are still to be counted, where those votes came from in the state of Georgia. Is it urban areas, which is what we have been seeing really in all the states that we're still waiting for, David? Often it's the big metro areas that where they have so many votes. That's where we're seeing the slowest results.
Yeah, it's where and it's what kind of ballot. Is it a mail ballot? Because those two have been Democratic pockets of vote. And so if it's the combination of two, that you're getting the remaining ballots from sort of pro-Biden geography anyway, like you said, the urban centers or certainly the suburbs around Atlanta have been pro-Democratic in recent years. That's one advantage. And then add to it, if it's sort of the mail voting, that's also a Democratic advantage on top of it. So even it could be that even in some more Republican areas, Anderson, if it's the mail vote, it may not come in as pro-Trump as the election day vote would, obviously. And so it is both sort of the political geography of where they're coming in from and what kind of ballots. And we believe these are predominantly mail ballots.
We're monitoring this press conference in Georgia to see any information about these 61,367 ballots. We'll obviously bring you more on that. We're listening in. Some of it is just kind of some detail that's not particularly germane. Let's listen in for now.
How to do this properly, because the main thing we want to do, fast is great, and we appreciate fast. We more appreciate accuracy. Accuracy is going to be the bedrock upon which people will believe the outcomes of these elections, be they on the winning side or the losing side. So accuracy is vital, and it's the key to all of our processes. And I want to make sure we told everybody in this room and in this state and around the country, this is the first time Georgia has used paper ballots in 20 years. We told people they can expect some results on election night, and we got a lot of them out there. In fact, we got down to 250,000 yesterday. We were down to about 60,000 today. So let me go through what we know we have right now. I brought my computer so I wouldn't screw it up. Bryan County, 3,027. Burke County, 494. Chatham County, 17,157. Clayton County, 7,408. Cobb County, approximately 700. Floyd County, 682. Forsyth County, 4,713. Fulton County, 11,200. Gwinnett County, 7,300. Harris County, 3,641. Lawrence County, 1,797. Putnam County, 1,552. Taylor County, 456. For a total right now of approximately just over 60,000 votes. The anticipation is we will continue to go through the process throughout the day and into the evening if necessary. I know there are large counties in this state that stayed overnight, Fulton County being one of those, to process these, and they've knocked their numbers down to that 11,200. We anticipate getting through this process today. One of the reasons that our friends in Chatham County take a little bit longer is they have a unique system where their board of registration is separate from their elections division, and they handle different sides of the absentee ballot and the reporting process. So that's one of the things that held them up, but I think we're through that process today, and I anticipate getting the majority of the 17,000 in today as well. So with that, I want to thank y'all for being here and answer any questions. We'll start with Justin over here.
Can you explain to us why that number seems to be such a moving
All right, let's quickly go to John King. This is really important information. We now have the breakdown, John, county by county of the votes that are still outstanding. And we're told, he says, that's not the Secretary of State, by the way, it's an election official, said by the end of today we should have all the votes in. John, what have we learned then?
Well, you learn, number one, there's a number of counties. So you have a couple hundred here, a couple thousand there. But the biggest takeaway I had there is listening in is one of the counties we talked about a little bit earlier, Clayton County. There were several thousand votes here just south of Atlanta. So you're looking, where do you have 500? Where do you have a few thousand, right? 60,000 total. There were several thousand here in Clayton County. And again, if you look at the numbers, Joe Biden's getting 85% of the vote in this county. So that's what, it doesn't guarantee that when they count the mail-in ballots, Joe Biden's going to get 85% of those. But your eyes aren't deceiving you there when you look, and you could expect, okay, still several thousand votes to count here.
7,408.
Right. So your assumption there is, Anderson, that Joe Biden's going to make up some ground there, right? Because he's 84%. Again, it's not guaranteed. You have to count the votes. But we know Democrats are more likely to have voted by mail. And we know that Joe Biden in this county, again, there's Atlanta, you're in the suburbs to the south, is getting 85% of the vote. So the biggest question is this. I mean, the overall math is, can you overcome with those 60,000 votes a lead of almost 19,000 votes, 18,586 for the president? To do that, it's pretty obvious. Joe Biden has to win a disproportionate number of those votes, much higher than the 49% he's getting statewide right now. So he mentioned Clayton County. He also mentioned, I believe, Forsyth County, which I'm going to come down here. This is Houston County.
Forsyth
Houston
was
County here, there's some votes.
4,713.
Right, and so that's a county where the president is has been leading. But again, the question is, Anderson, the president's leading in some of those counties he mentioned, especially the smaller counties, the numbers. But the question then is the president going to match? And you just pick a county and bring it up. You bring up a Morgan County, for example, they're done. So let's move over here, Oconee County, they're done. But is the president in these smaller counties going to get 65, 66%, or are the mail-in ballots, there may only be a few Democrats who live in those communities or a few people voting for Joe Biden in those communities, but is Joe Biden getting disproportionate? That's the hard part. You look at the numbers and you can say, okay, that's a red county, that's a blue county, but we actually count the votes because we do know, as we've watched this lead shrink, the president's lead in Georgia shrink, it is because Democrats disproportionately did vote by mail, and those are the 60,000 left they have to count.
Yeah, John, also just few more votes in Georgia have just come in, and the president's lead has shrunk just by 400 votes in just this latest. Right. John, the election official was saying Fulton County has 11,200 outstanding votes. Right. That's the Atlanta area, right?
That's the Atlanta area, and I believe that was the biggest number.
That was.
And so you're looking at 11,000 here. You have to count them because not always do the patterns stay. But we have seen a very clear and consistent pattern in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, and elsewhere, that when they count these mail-in ballots, Joe Biden is doing at least as good, if not better, than how he has been performing in that county overall. So Joe Biden is performing at 72% right now, 73 if you want to round that up, in Fulton County. That's Atlanta. You see Atlanta down here and the suburbs around it. Again, one of the Democratic strongholds in the state of Georgia. And this has been the area, essentially the circle, the star around Atlanta and the suburbs. He mentioned some other counties here as well, and I'll get to in a minute. But you have the biggest basket of votes still outstanding. 11,000 of the 60,000 are here. You can just do the math at home. That if Joe Biden gets 70% of that, he's going to get 7,000 plus votes right there. And the president gets his share. But in some of these counts, Anderson, I just did the raw math. In some of the counts, Joe Biden's actually getting a higher percentage in the mail-in ballots. So that's why we need to get to them. And again, if we look at that 18,144, that lead has been shrinking consistently. Every time you get a report of new votes, it shrinks. The question is, with 60,000 left, is that enough for Joe Biden to overtake 18,144? That's what the next very tense and consequential hours are going to tell us.
And just for the order, it seemed like Fulton County was 11,200 by my count, and I missed one or two of them. But Gwinnett, I think, was the next one with 7,300. Forsyth had 4,713.
Right, and you move up and around here. And so this is, again, so Gwinnett, you look here. Look at Joe Biden's getting 58%, right? So if you're in the Trump campaign, you're hoping that Joe Biden's numbers come in lower. But again, as you count these mail-in ballots, they're up to 95% right now. This is, again, the suburban circle around Atlanta. This is where Joe Biden is making up this lead. And so we just have to watch it play out and count the votes as they go. To their credit, they're being transparent about it. And to their credit, they're trying to get it done by the end of the day. And I'm going to switch walls if I can. I believe this. Is this camera on with me if I come over here, or do I lose you completely?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, we come over here. The resources are a little stretched as we count this out. But I just want to show you the significance of this, because we're saying, 5,000 votes here, 6,000 votes there. People at home can get a little confused maybe about why this is so consequential. Joe Biden is at 253, right? He is leading right now out here in Arizona and Nevada. That would be enough to get him to the finish line, but we have to be clear. As the votes have been counted out here, the president has been closing. So let's assume these two come off the map for a little bit. right? 253. We're going to wait. We're going to count the votes. Georgia, it seems, might get to the finish line before the states out west. If the former vice president can take this back, that gets him to 269, Anderson. That gets him right there, banging on the door. He's knocking on the door now. That would be banging on the door. If he can get Georgia, then he needs one more. Now, Maine's 2nd congressional district would be enough. The president's leading there right now, and the expectation is he will carry it. So if Joe Biden's not going to get that, if you can get Georgia, then you just need one more, right? Is it Pennsylvania? Is it Arizona? Is it Nevada? We keep counting votes. But Georgia is a bigger prize than the two western states. And also, the theory in the Biden campaign, I'm sorry, let me take 1 minute to play this out, is if they can do it this way, right, get it well above 270, if they could get Pennsylvania as well, that would get them above 300. The president now is saying, I'm going to sue everywhere. The hope in the Biden campaign is if they can stretch this out a little bit, it's not just one state, that perhaps there's a political dynamic in which people get to the president and say, sir, you might not want to do this. I'm not saying the president will take that course. If you look at his Twitter feed, he sounds very combative today. But the Biden campaign is hoping that if they can get a couple of these wins and stretch it out a little bit, that maybe the political climate would change. Now, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, though, because let's come back to where we are. We're not there yet. 253 to 213. Right. That's why that progress there for Biden is critically important. And as we go through these next very consequential hours, Georgia could be a huge part of the statement America is making here.
John, can you also just play out just the president's path? Because if Nevada is the Biden's leading only by some 7,000 votes. Okay, well, I totally got to get a break in. We'll do this on the other side because I'd like to see the president's path if Nevada and Arizona go to the president. Just ahead, as we wait for these updated vote counts that we are getting today, we continue to follow the votes coming in. We'll have live reports from our correspondents covering both the Biden and Trump campaigns. Also, new reporting on the mood for the Trump team. We'll be right back.
Don't miss the #1 movie on Prime Video.
And maybe a smiley face underneath to put him in a good mood.
My daddy is the smartest person in the whole flat world.
You gotta be kidding me.
Yes!
I love that. That's what you want.
You got somebody that strapped your car. This is my daughter. Only men and bears are allowed inside car.
Rated R.
A small thing like Cori krill oil can make a big difference for our health. From pure Antarctic waters, krill are an omega-3 force of nature and supports immune, heart, brain, joint, eye, and skin health. The ocean's superior omega.
If you're on Medicare, remember, the annual enrollment period is here. The time to choose your coverage begins October 15th and ends December 7th. So call United Healthcare and take advantage of a wide choice of plans, including an AARP Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. It can combine your hospital and doctor coverage with Part D prescription drug coverage and more, all in one simple plan for a low monthly premium, or in some areas, no plan premium at all. Take advantage of $0 copays on all primary care doctor visits, all virtual visits, and all lab tests. Also get $0 copays for preventive dental care, $0 copays for routine hearing exams, and $0 copays for eye exams, plus free designer frames and prescription lenses. Now's the time to look at United Healthcare's variety of plans and let us help find the one that works best for you. Ask about PPO plans too. They let you see any doctor who accepts Medicare without a referral and pay in-network costs, at home or traveling, when you see doctors in the United Healthcare Medicare National Network. Take advantage of $0 copays on hundreds of prescription drugs at the pharmacy or by mail. In fact, last year, our Medicare Advantage plan members saved an average of over $7,200. And with Renew Active, enjoy a free gym membership with access to an extensive nationwide network of fitness locations, now including premium gyms. Now more than ever, count on United Healthcare to help you get the care you need when you need it. We can even help schedule appointments or find a specialist. Enrollment ends December 7th. Call United Healthcare or go online today. We make it easy to enroll too. It's time to take advantage of all the benefits of the only Medicare Advantage plans with the AARP name.
After
social distancing and less workouts, it's time to rebuild our muscles. My latest secret, I found Rejuvenate to help you gain muscle strength, maintain muscle health, and keep your immune system strong. Rejuvenate, clinically proven to help prevent and reverse muscle loss. One daily dose helps you maximize the benefits of the protein you eat and the exercises you do. Rejuvenate, to live stronger, longer.
Besides calling and texting, I told Consumer Cellular at CCNI video call the grandkids twice a week. We got the perfect plan and the hashtag MyFairCC.
Hashtag maximum attitude.
Talk, text, and data as low as $20 a month. See how much you can save at consumercellular.com.
For effective relief from arthritis pain, try Australian Dream Arthritis Pain Relief Cream. With the FDA-approved active ingredient, histamine dihydrochloride, Australian Dream is real medicine that penetrates deep into your painful muscles and joints. No odor, no burning, non-greasy, and no NSAIDs. Only Australian Dream has the empty jar guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, return it for a full refund. Available now at these fine stores.
Closed captioning brought to you by Mesobook.com.
We offer a free book on mesothelioma. Call for the free book and receive so much more. Call 1-800-831-3700.
Okay, so here's where we are right now. These are the contests that we are watching to see how this gets called, when it gets called. You just heard from election officials in Georgia. Joe Biden slowly chipping away at President Trump's narrow lead. But obviously, as you can see, there are still votes outstanding in Georgia, 61,000. Similar situation in Pennsylvania. The Biden campaign, though, is hoping its narrow lead holds in Arizona and Nevada, as you can see there. Pennsylvania, though, what they're looking at so very carefully. You see, that's the widest margin in favor of Trump right now, 135,671. It's also, though, where you have the most votes still outstanding, about 700,000 of them. So we've got Jessica Dean in Wilmington, Delaware, covering the Biden campaign, and our Caitlin Collins is in Washington covering the Trump campaign. Caitlin, I want to start with you, though, because, you know, as we are watching these numbers narrow, and we are going to know a lot more today, you have some new reporting on just how Trump and his aides see the path to 270, and how his aides see it is not the same as how the president sees it.
Well, they realize, Aaron, that path is getting a lot smaller by the day as these numbers are coming in. They feel good about what's happening in Arizona, how Joe Biden's lead shrunk overnight, and they still expect that more votes are going to come in the president's favor. But increasingly, what I'm hearing privately from campaign officials and from people who work in the White House is that reality is setting in, and they realize that they are more and more by the day as these votes are coming in, staring down a potential loss for President Trump. Now, just because reality is setting in for them does not mean it is setting in for the president himself. And actually, I'm told he is still convinced that Joe Biden is stealing this election from him. That's what he's been telling people on the phone over the last several hours. And he is stung by the fact that he has seen leads in states like Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, where he thought he was doing so well, diminish. Either they've disappeared entirely or they are going down by incredible numbers, like what we're seeing in Georgia right now as more and more absentee ballots are being counted. So what I'm told is that the president has been on the phone. He is still convinced that this is a fraudulent election and that it's being stolen from him. That is what he's telling people. And he is instructing people like his children to go out and cast doubt on the way that votes are being counted in these key battleground states. And we have seen them do that. You saw Eric Trump appear with Laura Trump yesterday in Philadelphia for that press conference where Rudy Giuliani was threatening to bring a national lawsuit, though it's not even clear, where they would go with that, as they are really throwing everything they can at the wall to see what sticks here, as they are trying to slow down the vote counts. Now, that's how they're feeling privately, that they are realizing there is a serious chance Donald Trump could lose here. But we should note the Trump campaign did just hold a call. They said they are still confident that they're going to win Pennsylvania, even though we are seeing the president's lead there diminish significantly. And they say that, quote, Donald Trump is alive and well.
All right. Thank you very much, Caitlin. And so now let's go to Jessica Dean following the Biden campaign. So, Jessica, how does the Biden team see this right now? They obviously still have more than one path to 270. The fastest and easiest is to do it with one state. That state is the one bordering where the vice president is right now, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, that's right, Aaron. The Biden campaign feeling very good, very confident this morning. And I'm told by a senior advisor that they believe they're going to win Pennsylvania by a sizable margin when it's all said and done. That's what they think. They also think they're going to hang on to those leads in Arizona and Nevada. They see Georgia as a very real possibility and have been keeping their eyes closely trained on those Democratic strongholds there in Georgia that are still counting ballots there. Again, we have to see what the votes themselves say, and that's playing out as the days go on. But from the Biden campaign's perspective, they feel very, very good and very, very confident that when all the votes are counted, that Joe Biden will be.
Wabarani Zimze.
I'm also told by an advisor that we do expect to see Biden at some point today. And then again, if and when this race is called, again, we don't know when that might be, but they are trying to keep him out front, and they continue to hammer home this message that every vote should be counted. Again, very counter to what President Trump is saying right now, but the Biden campaign and the vice president himself saying every vote should be counted, that everyone needs to have patience. And it was interesting to note yesterday, Aaron, when Biden spoke here, he talked about unity and bringing this country together. We can expect to hear more of those themes as the days go on.
Yeah, and obviously very different strategies from the two men in terms of how they've handled this, speaking publicly by Biden versus Twitter for Trump. Jessica Dean, thank you very much. Anderson, it's amazing. You look at all eyes on Pennsylvania. Jessica's reporting that the Biden campaign thinks they're going to win it by a sizable margin. Yeah. Look, if you take the gap that Trump has now, 136,000-ish votes, but still 700,000 outstanding, a lot of those mail-in ballots, right, have run towards Biden. 60% of them, if you give them to Biden, he still wins, and that's a lower percent than he's been getting in many of those counties. So certainly the math would show that their optimism, they've got reason for it at this point as we wait for the count.
Yeah, I loved what Jessica Dean earlier was saying, that the fact that they were below 1 million votes still to be counted was a sign of progress, which still 700,000 plus votes. It's extraordinary. Aaron, thanks very much. The stakes are rising with every ballot counted. They're being counted as we speak. You see them counting in Georgia and Pennsylvania, as we talked about. The presidency hinging on just a handful of uncalled states. A lot is happening. Let's check in back with John King. So, John, the race continues to tighten. 3 crucial states, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona. Let's take a look, I guess, well, whatever you want to go. But I'm interested in Arizona to see how things are tightening.
All right, we'll look out in Arizona first. I think we're waiting here because it's the West Coast, where I think we're going to wait more for the count. But you see Joe Biden at 68,390 votes ahead. You can look at that if you haven't been with us for the last few days and say, okay, that's a pretty healthy lead. If you've been with us for the last few days, that's a shrinking lead. And we can go back and play that out for you here. Let me just pull this up for you and bring this out. When you go back and play it out, it's pretty interesting, right? Let's bring up Arizona and let's go back. This is Wednesday, 12 a.m. You see Biden has a 207,000 vote lead. You move it forward now to 1 a.m. It's 185,000. At 3 a.m., it's 2 a.m., excuse me, it's down to 155,000. And then as they counted votes throughout the day yesterday, 130, 93, down to 97. And then you come out to real time now, down to 68. So if you're in the Biden campaign, they keep saying they're confident they're going to win this, but the trend line there is going in the other direction. So then you come over here to Georgia. We just showed the pictures of the live counting of the vote. It's just the flip side here. The president had a huge lead midnight on election night. As Tuesday gave way to Wednesday, the president had a huge lead, way up there, and now it's down to 18,000 votes. We were talking a bit earlier about this. 60,000 votes left. Joe Biden needs to win about 2/3 of the remaining votes. He needs to win about 2/3, 65, 66%, depending on the exact number out there. They say roughly 60,000. He's 18,146 down. Now, can he do that? If you look at that, you think 2/3, well, he's only getting 49% statewide. That's unreasonable, right? No, it's not. We don't know that Joe Biden can get there, but we know, Anderson, 17,000 of those votes are here in Chatham County. Joe Biden's getting 57%, 58% if you round up in this county, but he's even doing better than that in the mail-in ballots, or he has been. Let's let them count the rest. But 17,000 of the 60,000 are right here. Then you come back to the Atlanta metro area, Fulton County. 11,000, I believe. Yes, 11,000 and a couple hundred of those votes are here. You see Joe Biden is getting, he needs 2/3 of the remaining votes. He's getting above 70% here. You move over here to Gwinnett County. Joe Biden's getting 58% total. You have 7,300. 7,000 of the votes are there. So then you move out here. The Secretary of State, the elections officials also talking about if you move further down in Atlanta here, Fayette County is done here. I think they're close to being done. You move over here. and you come over here. So most of these other counties are done. But some of the counties where we're still waiting for votes, some of them are, they're red. And so the question there is, does the president add up to his total or does he not? Now, so we're going to watch Georgia. We're watching Pennsylvania. We were starting to have a conversation earlier. Again, 135,000, 600,000 still out. Well within reach for Joe Biden because we know, Anderson, as I walk over here, that Joe Biden has been winning disproportionately, in some cases, 70% or more of those mail-in ballots. So why does this matter? Because this could be the decisive day in this long count. You asked me about the president's path a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
There is just no way. The President of the United States cannot lose the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Cannot lose the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. If Joe Biden wins it, he's the president. He doesn't need it to win the presidency. Biden does not. The president does. Let me show you what I mean, and we go through this math right now. Because it is 20, right? So we clear this out. The president is leading right now in Maine's 2nd Congressional District. We'll start with the 1. We don't know that he's going to win it, but he's leading right now. The president's lead in North Carolina, it has shrunk a little bit, but it's held up so far. Let's assume he gets it there. The president, we have full expectation when we finish the count in Alaska, the president will get that. So then let's say the president gets Georgia. Right? That gets him to 248. And if the president comes over here, even if the president comes back in Nevada, he gets to 259. I mean, in Arizona, he gets to 259. Nevada would get him to 265. The president is out of options then. The president is that you're up to 265. The only thing left on the board is Pennsylvania. The president cannot get to the finish line without the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So he has to. He has to win more than Pennsylvania. But he can, once you get that 20, your math gets better. Without that 20, you just don't have a path. So you come back to Joe Biden, who is at 253. Again, if by the end of the day we can say that, Joe Biden is president, no matter how the rest of them end up. So Pennsylvania with 20 is the biggest prize still on the board. If Biden gets it, game over, and then he's counting up from there. If the president does not win Pennsylvania, he's done. It's an absolute essential state for him as we watch that lead shrink.
And if Biden gets Arizona, continues to hold on to Arizona and Nevada, and
that also gets him. That's it. You don't even have to finish the thought. If Joe Biden's at 253, if he holds on to Arizona and he gets Nevada, that's 270. The rest is gravy after that. You want a bigger win, of course, but 270. Once you get 270, you can't take it back.
So if we know Nevada, well, it's not clear if we're going to know Nevada by the end of today or Arizona either.
Right, it is not. And so that's why if you talk about today as a potentially decisive day, the key point is how many votes. When we get more out of Nevada, how much is it? Right. And what do they tell us about the universe still out there? Can you make a projection based on what you have? We leave that to the data people, but we need to know. So come back to where we start. If Arizona and Nevada keep us waiting, which is perfectly conceivable, can Joe Biden get there without them? Yes, he can get there with just Pennsylvania. That would be it.
Although Pennsylvania, that's 700,000 plus votes still to be counted there, and also more military ballots still coming in.
Right. So, Joe, if by the end of the day they had counted 2/3 of those and Joe Biden had surged past the president, maybe the decision people feel comfortable enough to make a projection. We don't know that. And we're going to be obviously incredibly cautious in this environment because of the stakes, number one, and because of the unorthodox nature of this campaign. But Georgia would be another one. If Joe Biden could, if Joe Biden gets Georgia, that gets him to 269, right? If he can pick up that, and then you're looking around again. Can he come back here? Doesn't look that way, but we'll keep counting votes in Maine's 2nd Congressional District. So the big prize is Pennsylvania. Yeah. So can we? Your question, I think, if you boil it down, is today the decisive day? We can't say that for certainty. We just can't. We have to keep counting. But there's the potential if they speed up the count in Pennsylvania a little bit, and if we get Georgia, and then if one of the western states, southwestern states, gives us a little bit more, perhaps. We'll at least know the trend lines. We will have a much better sense of the trend lines if Joe Biden overcomes the president's leads in Pennsylvania and in Georgia. At least we'll know the trajectory. We might not be at the finish line.
Yeah, and Nevada, too, with that slim lead. It's just fascinating to watch, waiting for numbers there. John, thanks very much. Aaron, Georgia. I mean, the whole thing is just fascinating to watch.
Right. I mean, there is no state that is more important than another right now. They're all equally juggling them in the air to see which ball is going to land first with some answers here. So, just moments ago, Anderson and I, all of you, were sitting here watching the Georgia Secretary of State saying there are over 61,000 ballots that need to be counted throughout that state. And the margin between Trump and Biden is razor thin. Just moments ago, it had narrowed even a little bit more. So the big question is, when are we actually going to know what these numbers are? Richard Barron is the Fulton County Elections Director. Fulton County includes Atlanta. And of course, Richard, we have been seeing your updates I know you're exhausted. I know you haven't slept because you've been trying to get answers for us on all of this. So where are you in Fulton County? I know we were anticipating an update from you around 11. Do you have the final tally?
We sent thumb drives over to our warehouse probably about 20 minutes before I got on this call, and we'd scanned 140,083 ballots as of before I got on this call with you. So we're close to being done. I think within 2,000 at this point.
So within 2,000. Okay, so just to make sure I have the comparables right, you're saying 20 minutes ago you sent all these ballots over for tabulation, I would presume, right? And
yeah, we sent them over for, yeah.
Okay, so the number that we had from your Secretary of State half an hour ago was that you had 11,200 ballots outstanding in Fulton. You're saying that that's now down to about 2,000. Is that right? Apples to apples?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, all right. So now I understand that. That's obviously really important. So how long do you think it takes for that tabulation to happen over at the actual counting center? Do you have a sense of that, Richard?
Once it arrives, there usually is a really low percentage of the ballots that get adjudicated by the vote review panel. Once those are adjudicated, the tabulation doesn't take any time, and then we publish those. So the results may be up already. If not, it'll be momentarily.
All right. So momentarily, look, the whole country, the whole world's watching to see that from Fulton County. One other question, though, Richard, because I know when you say you've counted all in about 143,000, you've got 2,000 left to go. I had the understanding that there was an additional group of ballots, provisional overseas military. Do you know how many those are? Are those included in your numbers, or would that be a separate group that may end up mattering if this really is indeed that tight?
We will take care of any UOCAVA that come in. Right now we don't have any outstanding UOCAVA, but we can receive some today and tomorrow. And the provisional ballots are being researched and processed now, and then we will tabulate those tomorrow. We have, I believe, 2,893 provisional ballots, and we don't have any UOCAVA to process right now. They're all within the absentee ballots that we're processing.
Okay, so then again, just to make sure I have the math right, because the math here may be so important, your overall sort of unknown right now, you've got a bunch being tabulated, but your overall unknown is about 4,800, 4,900, correct?
Yes, that sounds right.
Okay. All right. Thank you very, very much for laying that out so clearly. We're going to be awaiting those results momentarily. And Richard, thank you for your time. All right. So we're waiting for those to come up. That's going to be crucial. You now have an exact sense of what these numbers are. That is Georgia, Fulton County in Atlanta. Just ahead, Pennsylvania's Attorney General on the legal challenges to the count there. We will be right back.
For over 80 years, we've built on our expertise to make the world a better place. And now, when healthcare needs support more than ever, we will never stop easing the burden on patients and frontline workers and helping to prevent the spread of infection. At Fujifilm, our commitment to healthcare didn't start with COVID-19, and it won't end with it either. We will never stop innovating for a healthier world. Fujifilm, value from innovation.
For effective relief from arthritis pain, try Australian Dream Arthritis Pain Relief Cream. With the FDA-approved active ingredient, histamine dihydrochloride, Australian Dream is real medicine that penetrates deep into your painful muscles and joints. No odor, no burning, non-greasy, and no NSAIDs. Only Australian Dream has the empty jar guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, return it for a full refund. Available now at these fine stores.
My psoriatic arthritis pain, I had enough. It's not getting in my way.
Joint pain, swelling, tenderness, much better.
My psoriasis, clearer. Cosentix works on all of this.
4 years and counting.
So watch out.
I got this.
Watch me.
Real people with active psoriatic arthritis look and feel better with Cosentix. Cosentix works fast for results that can last. It treats the multiple symptoms of psoriatic arthritis, like joint pain and tenderness, back pain, and helps stop further joint damage. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentix. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur. Tell your doctor about an infection or symptoms. If your inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen, or if you've had a vaccine or plan to. Serious allergic reactions may occur.
I just look and feel better.
I got real relief with Cosentix.
Watch me.
Feel real relief. Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentix.
Hi, folks. Joe Namath here, and if you're on Medicare, today is one of the only days of this year you can update your coverage and benefits. Before the deadline, you're entitled to eliminate copays and get dental, prescriptions, transportation, and meals at no additional cost. Plus, your zip code may have coverage with the Give Back benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every month.
I called to get dental, transportation, meals, and the Give Back benefit. They helped me so much.
With this virus situation, I called to get everything I'm entitled to. I couldn't believe I was missing out on so many benefits.
With the uncertainty of the virus, you need to get everything you're entitled to. Millions of people have trusted the Medicare Coverage Helpline. You can too. Don't miss the deadline. Call now. It's free.
Call 1-800-516-0600. That's 1-800-516-0600 now.
At Leaf Filter, we're on a never-ending journey to end gutter cleaning forever. Whoa! Way too dangerous, Bill. Way too clogged, Melissa. Leaf Filter, the nation's #1 rated gutter protection system, will keep you safe and protect your home. We guarantee you'll never have to clean those nasty gutters again. Everybody okay with that?
Oh, I sure am.
Call or go online for your free gutter inspection and estimate. Act now and save 15% off your purchase.
Her legacy. It's hard to overrate Lady Bird's importance in the Johnson presidency.
The new CNN original series, First Ladies, Lady Bird Johnson.
Sunday, November 15th at 10 on CNN.
Are you sick and tired of looking and feeling heavy? ProbioSlim promotes healthy digestion and helps you lose weight. Patented probiotics ease constipation, gas, and bloating, while powerful EGCG burns fat and calories. Unleash your potential with ProbioSlim, the #1 probiotic fat burner at Walmart.
This is melasma. I'm trying to get rid of it.
Introducing Muesli Face RX, prescription skincare delivered straight to your door.
Now that Muesli is out there, they just see the confident young woman.
See for yourself at muesli.com/TV.
I'm Kyung Law in Arizona, and this is CNN.
As you just heard, Aaron was interviewing an election official from Fulton County in Georgia. We are expecting to see some results momentarily from Fulton County. That is the Atlanta area. And obviously that is very important to see where this race is going in the state of Georgia. Let's go back to John King. So what are the latest results? Where do things stand right now as we wait for this latest batch?
And so we think we could get those momentarily, Anderson, and it's a hugely significant moment in the count in Georgia in the sense that you look, the president's lead is 18,146. Aaron was just talking to the election director here, Fulton County. That is the largest county in Atlanta. It's about 10% of the statewide vote. It has Atlanta and it has the suburbs around it, and as you see, it is voting disproportionately for Joe Biden, more than 70%. There were, when we last talked, 11,200 votes there. The election official telling Aaron he expects 9,000 of them. They're at the tabulation center right now. So we will get momentarily 9,000 more votes. 9,000 more votes here. Joe Biden has been winning at least 70% of them, right? So just do the math at home. 9,000, if Joe Biden won them all, he's not going to win them all, but if Joe Biden won them all, you can cut that lead in half. So the question is, Joe Biden is going to win, we assume, if trends continue as they have been overnight, the overwhelming majority of those votes in Fulton County. How much, when those 9,000 are tabulated, how much does that lead shrink? And then we'll know what's left, right? There'll still be a couple thousand to count in Fulton County. And then over here in Chatham County, we know there are 17,000. I'm going to check my notes because we're at decisive moments here. I want to make sure I get it right. 17,000 still to be counted here in Chatham County, which is going Democratic, right? You see 58% to 41%. Joe Biden, we know, needs about 2/3 of the remaining ballots. So we're going to see, number one, how many does he get of these 9,000 in Fulton County? And how much does that shrink the percentage Joe Biden needs? If he gets an overwhelming number of these 9,000, cuts that statewide lead down significantly, then the math gets better for Joe Biden. It's pretty simple. We need those votes to know.
Hey, John, you said Chatham County. I just want to be sure. I think you might have said 17,000. There's 1,700 in Chatham County.
1,700. I'm sorry. Thank you for correcting me. I have a card in front of me. We'll come up here. So that's a much smaller number then. So
Well, hold on. I'm being told it's 17,000. So maybe I'm wrong.
But this is and look, in this time, it's careful, and we'll correct each other and get through this together. And that's what's hard because we're at this decisive moment. So you have more votes to count here, and the best part about this is that the transparency of the officials coming out and telling us this. Now, when we get to Fulton County, this is going to be incredibly important. Again, you get 9,000 of the 11,000 votes any minute now. That will tell us, is Joe Biden still continuing the trajectory he needs? And is he exceeding in this county? He actually needs to exceed what he needs statewide because you can't expect him to do as well when you move out to some of the red counties in Georgia, even if he's winning. One of the things that gets hard when you look at red and blue is you say, well, there's still votes out here, right? Well, there's still votes to be counted here, or there's still votes to be counted here, or there's still votes to be counted here. And you think, well, the president's going to get those. Well, yes, but we do know that Joe Biden in the absentee balloting, the mail-in balloting, is doing well. Even in places where he's losing, he's doing better in that type of balloting, the mail-in ballots. But this, again, is we're going to just take this one step at a time because we are so close to the potential of knowing what's happening here. Georgia alone cannot settle this race, don't get me wrong. But if Joe Biden takes Georgia away from the president, it makes the president's math incredibly difficult. So that's why this is so significant. Again, you're talking about 10% of the statewide vote. You're talking about a place Joe Biden is getting well in excess of 70% of the vote, even a higher percentage among these mail-in ballots as they're counted. So when we get those 9,000, we're going to have a very good sense of if Joe Biden's math is continuing and if his path to cutting into that lead is continuing. And again, this lead has been shrinking every time we get a big report of a large number of votes from any of these counties, but particularly the blue counties, Atlanta and the suburbs around it. We've been cutting into the lead. And this is a decisive moment, which is why both campaigns are so anxious, as Georgia and Pennsylvania are updating on the fly. The states out in the West, we're going to have to wait a little bit more. It's going more slowly out there.
You know, in some states, in Pennsylvania, military ballots can be I think they have 10 days or so in order to come in. Do you have a sense, just through history, has that ever really made a difference? I'm not sure the total number of military ballots in a state like, in a Commonwealth like Pennsylvania.
Right. You can go back to 2000 in Florida, which was settled by 537 votes. If you get that close, you can find some state races in history. If we ever had a presidential race where you're waiting to the last minute, 2000 is the only one in my memory where you're thinking you're going to have to find every last ballot. And in that case, they fought over a lot of ballots. The two campaigns did. But that will be a question. So it's not a question we're going to settle today, but we might have a better answer at the end of the day. So you're looking at 18,000. State like Georgia, several military bases here, a great military tradition across Georgia and across many other states, but a very high percentage of military tradition here because of the number of military installations in the state. So you're raising a question. If it's down to several hundred at the end of the day, then we're going to have to wait and let the clock run out and see how many more ballots come in. We're going to have to be patient and see. If it's a couple thousand, then you ask officials, what was the universe of ballots requested by the military? And once you know the universe of possible votes still to come in, you can just do the math and say, is it enough to be decisive? And if it is, you wait. If it's not, then we'll know.
In terms of North Carolina, it looks pretty much I know you said it had been tightening a little bit, but the president has a comfortable lead there.
It's 76,737 votes. It's 50 to 49 if you round up Joe Biden's total. So it's a very competitive state. But one of the things you look for is, unlike these other states, Anderson, Pennsylvania has been moving toward Joe Biden. President's still ahead. Georgia has been moving toward Joe Biden. The president is still ahead. North Carolina has been pretty stubborn. It's come down in little fits and starts, and you count here and you count there. But the president has a healthy lead here. And the indicator I take from this is you email people, call people in the state and ask them. But when you ask the two campaigns, the Biden campaign says count all the votes. We'll keep an eye on it. But there is no sense in the Biden campaign that this one is going to flip. They hope it does. They want to count all the votes, but there's a lot of anxiety and anticipation when it comes to Georgia, when it comes to Pennsylvania, when we move out west to Arizona and Nevada. You're not getting, when I'm going to have this conversation right now, when we're done, I'm not going to get a text from the Biden campaign saying, hey, why did you say that about North Carolina? Because they think it's going to stay that way. That doesn't guarantee that it does. We'll count all the votes. But the campaigns, understand, we know what we know. We have reporters on the scene. We're talking to these officials all the time. The campaigns know even more than we do because they have people in the key counties. They have their own data analytics teams, and they're pushing it. Again, the Biden people will say, keep counting the votes here. But in doing their math, how are we going to get from 253, where they are now, to 270? There's not a lot of conversation about North Carolina in the Biden campaign. You can be certain of that.
We are waiting, as John said, some 9,000 votes from Fulton County, from the Atlanta area. Very interesting. As soon as they come in, we'll go back to John to see how it changes things in Georgia and nationwide. Let's go back to Erin.
All right. Yeah. I mean, because as you say, razor thin, 18,586 about, I think. The margin in Georgia now might be a move down 500, but that Fulton County 9,000 could really matter as they're counting. Okay. So David Chalian and Nia join us now just to talk about this latest reporting. I want to ask you, Nia, that we're getting in from Caitlin about the president. That the president's team, it has started to sink into them that these numbers are not going in their favor, right? The margins are narrowing. You look at what's ahead in Pennsylvania, it is going to narrow. And yet the president is defiant and in denial, wanting new legal strategies, telling his children, instructing his children to go out and cast doubt on the validity of the vote. And yet we haven't yet heard from him, physically speaking here about it.
That's right. He's been tweeting a bit. I think he tweeted something a few hours ago, stop the counting now. You see a real divergence here. President Trump thinking he can create his own reality, and the folks closest to him, particularly his children, are trying to carry that out for him. Whatever his wishes are, you see them in Pennsylvania and in Philadelphia and specifically trying to do his bidding. But then you see that these sort of institutions here are holding. The voting is continuing. Primarily because if you're a Republican official, on the ballot, perhaps in some of these down ballot races, you do want a legitimate process. You do want the counting to continue. I think David Perdue, who's on the ballot in Georgia, said he wants the counting to continue. And if it goes to a runoff, he's perfectly fine with the runoff. He thinks he'll win in a runoff. So this is really interesting to see the president try to do what he always does, create his own reality, be on a fantasy island, invite as many people to that fantasy island as he can. And at this point, it really is down to a select few people with this president as he watches his lead dwindle in some of these states. I mean, this was his strategy to discount those mail-in ballots. I wonder if he is regretting essentially telling his voters not to do mail-in balloting. And now you see mail-in balloting are really making a difference in some of these states.
And you're getting totally mixed messages out of the Trump White House, David, right? I mean, you're getting Trump saying, stop the counting. But then obviously they want the counting to continue out west. You have people like Kellyanne Conway saying, if it takes 3 days or 3 weeks, who cares? We want to know a winner, right? The messaging is all over the map, and that does itself reflect a state of disarray.
It does. And let's just make something really clear, Erin. This notion that Donald Trump seems to be sharing with friends on the phone and his family members that he thinks that Joe Biden is stealing this election because these votes are coming in. There is no stealing of this election going on. There's vote counting going on. Mm-hmm. And it is just amazing how much he has convinced himself that what he's witnessing, instead of being actually the very core of our free and fair democracy, right? A free and fair election, the very core of our democracy, the foundational principle, its critical building block, he actually is convinced that that process is somehow stealing the election because these vote totals in some of these states are going in Joe Biden's direction. But as you know, in Arizona, they're going in Donald Trump's direction. And so that's why you have Kellyanne Conway out there saying, like, let all the votes be counted. It's just so... I know it doesn't surprise anyone anymore, but it is so disheartening to hear the President of the United States speak that way about the very thing that is at the center of who we are as a democracy.
And yeah, I also just wonder whether his team will, they've prevented him from coming out and speaking, right? We saw the tone of what we got on election night when he did, right? Talking about stealing the election and cheating. But will they be able to prevent him from doing something that could be quite damaging, frankly, at this point, as these final counts do come in?
Well, so far, so good. He made that initial statement, and you saw Republicans really push back on him. Also, I think what has been good is that his supporters, his followers, haven't been out in the streets, haven't been really raising a ruckus. You did have that incident in Arizona, but by and large, some of the uprisings that people might have feared haven't happened yet. There clearly isn't a winner at this point, so we hope that continues after there is a winner declared, but the president doing what he always does, being paranoid, trafficking in conspiracy theories, and tweeting those things, and then having people with the last name Trump advance those theories, which obviously, as David said, have no basis in reality at all.
All right. Thank you both very much. And next, Pennsylvania's Attorney General is going to join us, give us the very latest sense of the race there, legal developments, and votes outstanding. We'll be right back.
A small thing like Corey krill oil can make a big difference for our health. From pure Antarctic waters, krill are an omega-3 force of nature and supports immune, heart, brain, joint, eye, and skin health. The ocean's superior omega.
Some companies still have HR stuck between employees and their data. Entering data, changing data, more and more sensitive personal data. And it doesn't just drag HR down, it drags the entire business down with inefficiency, errors, and waste. It's ridiculous. So ridiculous. With Paycom, employees enter and manage their own data in a single, easy-to-use software. Visit paycom.com and schedule your demo today.
Hi, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Mom, open the blue one. Look, the present's me. But you're supposed to hug it when you can't see us. I miss you, Grandma. See you really soon.
Water?
Incoming!
Water tastes like water, so we fixed it. Mio.
Hey there, Robert Larson here. You know, with SimpliSafe, you get comprehensive, professionally monitored home security without having to leave your house or have anyone to come install it. You simply order it online, it gets delivered to your door, and you can set it up yourself in just a few minutes. Imagine that. So take it from an expert. Get SimpliSafe and protect your home, your family,
The new me.
and anything else you need to keep a close eye on.
Meet the Ninja Foodie Air Fry Oven. Make family-sized meals fast. And because it's a Ninja Foodie, you can do things no other oven can, like flip away. The Ninja Foodie Air Fry Oven, the oven that crisps and flips away.
For effective relief from arthritis pain, try Australian Dream Arthritis Pain Relief Cream. With the FDA-approved active ingredient, histamine dihydrochloride, Australian Dream is real medicine that penetrates deep into your painful muscles and joints. No odor, no burning, non-greasy, and no incense. Only Australian Dream has the empty jar guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, return it for a full refund. Available now at these fine stores.
When my teeth were hurting, I knew there was something that had to get done.
It's your mouth, but you feel bad from head to toe. It really hurts.
It's not just a pretty smile, it's your health.
When I found Clear Choice, everything changed right there and then.
Getting dental implants makes all the difference. That was a new beginning for me, for a long, healthy life.
From deep dives to daily briefs, CNN Politics podcasts have you covered. The Axe Files, Politically Sound, CNN Political Briefing, and more. Listen on CNN.com/podcasts.
Important information for all Medicare recipients.
Folks, the Medicare annual election period is just a few fleeting weeks each year. Don't miss your chance to get a better Medicare plan for your health and your budget.
You may be able to lower your out-of-pocket costs and get dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage. You may also qualify for a no monthly plan premium, no deductibles, and no copays.
Get a Medicare Advantage plan that will save you money and get you more benefits today.
Replacing original Medicare with a Medicare Advantage plan could give you access to more benefits, such as vision, dental, and prescription drugs, medical transportation, even pest control and home modification to make your home safer. One simple call with a licensed insurance agent who will give you free professional assistance to help you save money and get more benefits.
Call Coverance Insurance now. 800-465-6688. Call 800-465-6688.
I'm Erica Hill, where ballots are being processed in Clark County, Nevada, and this is CNN.
Okay, all eyes on two states this hour. Georgia, we are expecting results shortly from the Atlanta area. A significant chunk of ballots coming in the Atlanta area that we'll see what happens to this razor-thin margin right now in Georgia, where the president is ahead by about 18,000 votes. And in Pennsylvania, ballots being counted. The margin there has been shifting. There are legal challenges flying. I want to go to the Pennsylvania Attorney General, Josh Shapiro. Attorney General Shapiro, good to talk to you this morning. Okay, so let's just start with the big picture. Last understanding we have is you have about 700,000 votes outstanding in the state of Pennsylvania. Where are you right now?
Yeah, that's probably more of a question for the Secretary of State in terms of the exact number. But what I'll tell you is she indicated last evening that she felt that the lion's share, the vast majority of these ballots would be counted by the end of the day today. And so the people of Pennsylvania, the people across America who are looking to some answers from Pennsylvania should have a better sense of that by the end of the day.
Okay, that is the bottom line. That is what people want to hear. But then we get to the other thing that I mentioned, right? Some of the legal challenges and other questions. So let me ask you about Allegheny County. New York Times is just reporting, Attorney General, that 35,000 uncounted mail-in ballots are there in Allegheny County, right? That's a real chunk of change. But that the election staff is taking the day off from counting them for other administrative work. Can you confirm that and explain to us why, if that is indeed happening?
Yeah, I can't confirm that. I can tell you that County Executive Rich Fitzgerald has been on top of this count, on top of the ballot issues. I'm sure they have a very good reason for why they are handling it the way they are. They've had a good process. They've gone through that process, and I'm sure they'll be reporting these numbers just as soon as they can.
Okay, so unable to confirm that. Let me ask you then about legal challenges here from the Trump campaign. They have indicated they're pursuing at least 2 lawsuits against your Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, asking the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene to stop mail-in ballots that legally arrived after Election Day from counting. So what happens from here? I know you've been segregating ballots, right? So in case there is a legal challenge that forced some of them to count and others not. But what are you doing right now?
Yeah. So let's talk about this, Aaron. I mean, the first thing I got to say, the campaign is over, Aaron. The spin, all that kind of stuff, like, let's be done with that. The fact is that the American people here in Pennsylvania, they voted. And now we are focused on counting those votes. I've said many times with you and on this network, we're going to secure, protect, and count all these votes. We're counting them now. It would appear that the Trump campaign issued a press release and is moving to intervene in that matter before the United States Supreme Court. Now, what's really important for folks to know, and why I think we got to just sort of take a deep breath and calm down, is that on 2 separate occasions, the United States Supreme Court had this matter before them and refused to take it up. And the real question here, the real issue here, is whether a ballot that is postmarked by Election Day and then received on Wednesday, Thursday, today, or Friday, tomorrow, before 5 o'clock, whether that can be counted. That question is a question of state law that went up to our state Supreme Court, which is our highest court here in the Commonwealth, and it was heard and decided by the state Supreme Court that those ballots are legal and they will be counted.
Right. And of course, there are other states that have those same laws, also laws that were set, as you point out, by GOP legislatures. So Trump's deputy campaign manager, Justin Clark, has said that bad things are happening in Pennsylvania. Democrats are scheming to disenfranchise and dilute Republican votes. What do you, I mean, obviously that's a baseless thing. I understand you're counting votes and you're counting everywhere, but they have provided no credible evidence that any such thing is occurring. But what is your response when things like that are being put out there to cast doubt on results?
Yeah, I mean, Aaron, you kind of answered the question with the way you phrased it, which is, I mean, there is no legitimacy to those comments. My response as the chief law enforcement officer of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is that we're following the law here in Pennsylvania. We're counting these legal votes. Aaron, I want to tell you what people are counting all across Pennsylvania right now. And by the way, these are clerks, these are folks from our neighborhoods that are out there doing a great public service. What they're doing is the ballots that were mailed a week ago, or 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago, because someone was afraid of COVID and didn't want to stand in line at the polls, or someone that dropped off their ballot at a drop box at the local government office building or what have you. Those ballots were arranged, they were processed, and now they're being counted. They are every bit as legal as the ballots that were cast on Election Day. They will be counted here in Pennsylvania. We will follow the law. We're not going to get into any kind of back and forth on the rhetoric or the politics. As I said before, the campaign is over. Now it's time to count the votes. And what I will tell you is we will respect the will of the people of Pennsylvania. Whoever gets more votes in that election will be deemed the winner by the Commonwealth, and we will respect the will of the people. That's the law. That's how the process works, and that's what we'll do here.
All right, Attorney General, thank you very much for your time. So despite some of these questions, Anderson, he is still saying they anticipate a result by the end of the day today.
Yeah, and again, just such an important thing to continue to point out. What we are seeing is the votes being counted. It's not new people voting, new votes being cast. It is the votes being counted. New numbers from Georgia. Aaron, you had talked to an official from Fulton County. The lead for President Trump now in Georgia has gone from 18,146 to 14,857. That means the lead the president has currently in Georgia has shrunk by 3,289 votes. Back with John King. John, we had heard from an official in Fulton County that they were sending over about 9,000 the results of about 9,000 ballots that they had counted. I'm not sure if this change is from all of those. Do we know?
It's 6,000 if you round. It's 4,653 votes for Joe Biden in the latest count, Anderson, 1,364 votes for President Trump. So as you noted, the impact of that, the net, when you do the math, is 3,289 cut off what was the president's lead. So the Fulton County official told Aaron, a half hour ago, they were about to tabulate 9,000 ballots. That's about 6,000 ballots. So we're waiting. Obviously, it takes time. They have to run through the machine and count them. So there could be more. But the trend line, again, is clear. Again, down to 14,857, so just shy of 15,000 votes. Every time one of these blue, either this is Fulton County, which is Atlanta, and the suburbs around it, and the suburbs around the blue here, every time one of these counties reports new votes, as they count these votes, we see the president's lead shrinking. And so you see in Fulton County, the former vice president's getting nearly 73% of the vote to 26% of the president. So we're waiting. And we knew there were 11,000. He told us we were going to hear about 9 soon, so we get 6. So we're waiting. We could any second now get 3,000 more votes, and then there's more to come.
Right. We should also point out he had said that there were about, I think, 2,000 or so still to count in Fulton County. So if there's so 2,000 more that they have yet to count, but we should shortly hear about these other few thousand.
Right, so they had 11,000. He said 9,000 were at the tabulation center. We now have 6,000 of those in. So we're waiting for the other 3 of the 9 they sent over. I'm going to confuse people. So 3 there, and then the 2,000 you mentioned. So we're waiting for about 5,000 more votes. We're waiting for about 5,000 from Fulton County. And again, every time Fulton County reports more votes, Joe Biden is cutting, and proportionately, significantly, from this into the president's lead. So we're waiting there. We think 5,000 more or so from Fulton County. And then if you go through, again, we're also told there are still 7,300 votes to count here in Gwinnett County. And you see Joe Biden is winning the county with 58% of the vote. That's the overall count. In the mail-in balloting, he has been getting a higher percentage than that. We're waiting for votes there. And you come back out, and we double-checked this since last time we talked.
Yeah, you're right, 17,000.
Over here, on the coast, 17,000. That's a lot of votes, right? Now, especially you think 17,000 votes here. Joe Biden is winning the county with 57, 58% of the vote if you round it up. He tends to be getting higher percentages among the mail-in ballots. That is the bedrock of Democratic support. So, but just assume he's getting 57, 58% of those votes, perhaps higher. When there's 17,000 of those, you still have several thousand here in the blue suburbs in Atlanta and around Atlanta, the city of Atlanta and the suburbs around it. You see the president's lead is now below 15,000. We have a very interesting few hours ahead of us as Georgia now is starting to report more and more of these votes. And again, if you go back to last night, or especially midnight Tuesday, the president had a giant lead. There's a reason he's tweeting "Stop the count." He's watching what's happening, and his people are telling him it does not look good.
Given the number of votes left in the state of Georgia, it does seem like by the end of today, we should have a much clearer picture of what's going on in Georgia.
If it keeps going the way it's going, again, Joe Biden needs to win about 2/3. That's a ballpark number. When they tell us there's 60,000 votes out there, is that 59,500? Is it 61,200? Yeah, we don't have exact numbers, nor do the officials, and we have to give them grace. They're doing the best they can as they check in with every county and count these votes. But the Secretary of State's office told us ballpark 60,000 votes. If that's your ballpark number, Joe Biden needs to be getting 2/3, roughly. Could be 64%, could be 66%, but the ballpark is right in there. He has been performing at that rate or better, Anderson, as we count these votes.
John,
the question is, does it continue?
Kate Baldwin's got new information in Allegheny County. Let's go to Kate. Kate, what have you learned in Philadelphia?
Hi there, Anderson. We've confirmed that Allegheny County, which is, of course, the home of Pittsburgh, they are pausing on their counting of the outstanding ballots that are still out there today. We're talking about a universe of 35,000 ballots, and Allegheny's putting a pause on it, we found out, because in large part it appears due to a pool of 29,000 ballots that are caught up in a legal challenge over ballots that were issued that were incorrect, and then new ballots were then issued to those same voters. There's a legal challenge that this pool of 29,000 ballots is wrapped up in. And because of that legal challenge, there had been an agreement that those ballots were not going to be counted or gone through until Friday, tomorrow, at after 5 p.m. There's also then 6,000 ballots that I'm told were not able to be processed, and because of that, they were going to need to be gone through manually. With all of that in mind, Allegheny County is not counting ballots today. They will be back in to resume work at the return board. Will resume their work tomorrow, beginning at 9.